The Life Coaching Toolbox Podcast is brought to you by Joeel and Natalie Rivera of Transformation Academy. In this episode, Natalie talks about how to banish approval seeking and say no to should. This episode is one of 11 episodes in a series about CBT and REBT, which are powerful tools for coaching and together provide a human mind owner's manual.
One of the 3 core beliefs is about the need for approval, and it leads us to judge ourselves and try too hard to gain approval of others. Approval seeking is one of the most detrimental forces that leads a person to live inauthentically and out of integrity. Instead of making decisions based on what is best for them, and instead of honoring who they truly are, they live their life for others, constantly adjusting themselves to be what they believe other people think that they should be. And this approval-seeking behavior is so common that we don't even notice that we're doing it. Some people have been pleasing so long that they don't even know who they really are. For me, my approval-seeking behavior started in 5th grade when a boy at my bus stop told me, "Natalie, you always act like an animal." And the truth is, he was probably right. But from that point forward, I was always concerned about not looking weird or being judged. And of course, that didn't stop me from being weird because I actually couldn't help it. And it didn't stop me from being judged either. I was made fun of and bullied for many years. For many people, the approval-seeking behavior starts with their parents. Their parents might be controlling or critical. They might also send mixed messages, for instance, telling their child to choose what they want to wear, but then when the child makes their choice and comes out in the room, the parent immediately criticizes their clothes and says, "Well, that doesn't match, go change." So constantly having their own preferences questioned or criticized leads to having a child who, when asked by the store clerk, "Would you like a lollipop?" the child looks at the parent. Not because they're looking for the parent to give them permission to take the lollipop, but to see if they even want the lollipop at all. They lose their ability to think for themselves, and this unfortunately follows many people into adulthood. There are a number of common approval-seeking behaviors, including changing your opinion at the first sign of disapproval, feeling anxious when someone disagrees with you, being unable to say no and so doing things for people and then resenting them for it, being susceptible to salespeople and tending to buy things that you don't even want. Another common one is apologizing all the time, even when you didn't do anything wrong. Faking knowledge about a topic in order to impress others. So if you relate to any of these things, you are not alone. In fact, approval seeking is one of the most common afflictions that people suffer from. We all want approval and belonging, but the problem comes when we don't just want people to like us, we demand it. We feel like we need it. If you simply want approval, you're happy when people like you. But when you need it and you feel like you're not going to get it, then you feel like you're gonna die if you don't get it. Not only is this a problem because it's inevitable that not everyone is going to like or approve of you, but it's also a problem because it pushes you away from your true self. Believing you need approval is like saying your view of me is more important than my own opinion of myself. You sacrifice yourself for the opinion of others. So think for a moment about a time when you were really upset that someone didn't agree with you or like you or approve of what you did. And now ask yourself, how would your life actually have been different if that person did approve of you? Because in most cases, the truth is that it wouldn't have made you any better off. One of the areas where many people, especially women, tend to become preoccupied about seeking approval from others is how they look. People spend an absurd amount of money and time buying clothes that others view as a name brand or high-end, or cutting and dyeing and extending their hair, having fake nails installed, filling a closet with shoes, and painting their faces with makeup. Not to mention plastic surgery. When asked, many people say the reason that they do it is because it makes them feel better about themselves, more confident. They want to look good. But what does that really mean? How does having perfectly coiffed hair, eyelash extensions, and $200 shoes actually make you a better person? Why would it make you more confident? Why? Well, you probably guessed it, because of what you think other people will think about you because of it. So the question is, how would other people's approval or envy actually, in real life, impact you? Does some random stranger looking at you and thinking you look sexy or rich actually mean anything? What would happen if they didn't think you looked great? How would that matter or impact you? Actually, if you think about it, in most cases, you don't even know if anyone thinks that you look great because they're not saying anything anyway. And then when they do say something, often you're annoyed or offended that they said something about how great you looked. So how much sense does that make? How much energy do you spend wishing you were thinner, more muscular, had better skin, had better hair, had less of a neck glottal, had that new pair of shoes that everybody else is wearing these days? Would any of that really matter? And if not, isn't there something else much more worthy to spend your time and energy on? Now, don't get me wrong. I think it's a great idea to seek approval for your behavior in the sense that you want to be a kind, considerate person and for people to recognize that. You don't want to just denounce approval of others as an excuse to be a jerk and be like, I don't care what you think. But at the same time, you don't want to be a doormat and bow down to everyone else's desires and demands just so that they think that you're nice. Be a good person, but honor yourself first. The best way to decrease your approval-seeking behavior is to practice getting other people out of your head. And what I mean by that is to pay attention to the thoughts going on inside of your head, especially the ones that tell you that you should or shouldn't do something. Because when you tell yourself that you shouldn't do something, usually that should was told to you by someone else. So whenever you hear that word should, it's a sign that you're thinking someone else's thoughts or believing someone else's belief. The solution is to stop shoulding on yourself. Banish the word should from your vocabulary. When you hear that voice inside of your head urging you to do something because you should, the solution is to ask yourself this question, or these questions. Why should I do or not do this? Who told me that I should? Do I truly believe that I should? And in some cases, it will genuinely be something that you agree that you should do 100%. And in that case, make it a must. Make it a must for yourself and do it. But in most cases, you'll recognize that you don't really believe that you should do it and that you're only trying to make yourself do it because someone else's voice is in your head telling you that you should. Even if it's not a specific person's voice in your head, in general, you are seeking to do what you should in order to gain approval from other people. It's a bad habit, most of us do it, so be on the lookout for that word should and question any belief that is attached to it. And then make your decision based on what you truly believe. When you do, you'll be living in integrity with the true you, and you'll be happier and more effective too.
Visit transformationacademy.com/toolbox to download free life coaching worksheets that go with the activities discussed in this podcast, plus other resources for creating a thriving life coaching business.